Good afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Brandon Butcher. You've made it to that spring 2024 forecast. The first thing we look at is where we have stood from the winter side of things, and it's been a very unstable normal. If you remember, we've had these big hot swings of temperatures, and even today we've had that cold swing that we've had to deal with. So even if the statistics are closer to average, you know it's been anything but to one side or the other. And then as far as the snowfall, yeah, it's been below normal when you look at the statistics in one direction, thinking about the average amount of snow you typically get in a year and how much we've gotten this year, only about 11, 12 inches of snow. But when you think about the median instead of the mean, it's a different measure of average where you look at how many numbers of years have been had more snow and less snow, and what's the midpoint? Well, we're pretty much at it. So we've had some unusually snowy winters in years past, and this kind of skews the mean. But for us, we're right around where we should be. But as far as January and February, it's certainly been a wet time out there. As far as the soil moisture, you can see there is a little bit in there, and with the warm temperatures, it has encouraged a lot of those plants to come out too early. That growth index, that bloom index here, has shown us about a week to 2 weeks ahead of schedule, and that's why, despite the growing season not technically having begun, we have some plants out there that can suffer the freeze given those colder temperatures. We also take a look at how El Nino is doing. Remember, that's the unusual warm temperatures that are out there in the Pacific Ocean. When you go back to December, there was that solid red zone of unusually warm temperatures, but as we go from December to January to February and into March, you're actually starting to see that heat go away. So we're transitioning out of El Nino into something more neutral here, and that would affect the larger weather pattern as a whole. And if you analyze similar years in which that's happened, the last average snowfall has been about the 24th of March. So you'd think we're just about done. But the latest we've had has been as late as April 17th. Likewise, with temperatures below the freezing mark, last one of those, that's where you typically start throwing the vegetables in the ground. The average is April 18th. So you typically have an earlier end of those below freezing temperatures, but the latest has been May 17th. That's why we always say don't count it out until after Mother's Day. That's when you should start planting those tender vegetation. But may we be able to make it a long way without getting our next heat wave, because the average in previous years, June 30th. But we have had before then as well. You could see the last usual date of the freeze is mid-May, so don't go too far on that one here. But may we be trending cooler this spring? I think at this point that transition out of El Nino may get us a little bit cooler here. But as far as good news, bad news, the temperatures may stay pretty temperate. If you think about it, in cooler weather without extreme cold snaps, just avoiding the highest temperatures. That's how it looks like we'll get into the spring season. So it would enhance the growing season, but also enhance the allergy season. And that's the trend that we've been seeing over the course of the last few decades, courtesy of climate change, about 2 weeks longer of a growing season. And it's even changed the planting zones. We used to be a zone 6, for example, in the Huntington area. Now kind of more in the zone 7 area. But again, there's resilient plants that have been in both. But as far as the spring temperature forecast, I think a lot of us will actually end up near or below normal in terms of the average temperatures going through the spring months ending in June there. But as far as rainfall, there are some spots that are going to be below normal to the north and above normal to the south, with near normal in between. And that just gives you the idea of these different weather patterns. The ones that come from the south, a lot juicier here, but they don't reach as far into the north. So we'll be watching for who gets that rainfall. But at this point, normal would be good to have out there because we've had so little of the actual normal. So as far as the headlines for spring, it does look like we have a below average river flood risk because, frankly, we don't have a lot of melting snow up in the high country here. It hasn't been a big year for the mountains in terms of snow. And can we make it through spring without an official heat wave? Well, that'd be nice to avoid 3 days in a row of 90-degree temperatures. A lot of times we have to go farther into June to get it, and that would be good if we can do that. But always never count it out. It does look like we're going to have cooler air, but it doesn't mean colder. It doesn't all of a sudden guarantee we're going to have all these cold snaps. We're just going to try to avoid the heat wave side of things before going into the summer. And that's how it shapes up for now. Of course, you know, weather on a seasonal basis can have all sorts of ebbs and swings in there. So that's your forecast. Thank you for joining us for the 2024 Spring Weather Special.
All right, thank you.
We're ready.
I think we are ready. I mean, spring's here officially, meteorologically. It's been here since, what, March 1st? Yeah. So we're ready, definitely.
Yes, we are.